Hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here Harpreet Singh with the daily analysis of the Hindu from 25th of December 2024. Let's begin with today's analysis. So, this is a QR code where you can basically find this particular PDF along with the other material that is required for your preparation. So, what all topics we have taken for today's analysis? Let's have a look. From the aspect of the main topics, we have taken an editorial that is IT sector and the caste disparities. Then we have the Good Governance Day, which is being celebrated today on the 25th of December. Then we have the India-Bangladesh Extradition Treaty. Next, we have Jallikattu. Then we have the lion-tailed macaque and the topic of Indian remittances, General Studies 3. So let's begin with today's analysis of the Hindu newspaper. Main topics. The first topic that is there over here is myth of meritocracy, caste-based disparities in the IT sector. Now, please understand there are certain things that you need to analyze. When I talk about the IT sector, please see, first of all, now IT sector is a very important sector, right? Because it contributes close to 7%, contributing 7% to the Indian GDP. Now, from the aspect of the moment you hear IT sector, you know that, okay, some softwares might be included in this particular gamut, or for that matter, services associated with the IT sector might be associated. So, we generally associate with this, it's software engineers working here, earning a lot of income, with salaries, and all that. And particularly when we realize that the digital revolution is going on, we realize this IT sector has been booming. This is one part of the story. Do you realize that there is another side also, that the level of caste discriminations that exist at the IT sector also? Now, you need to differentiate on the aspect that it is not simply that when you enter a company, there is some discrimination and untouchability per se going on. We're not talking about that perspective. That can be depending upon a work culture of that particular company. But what we're talking about is that what number of scheduled caste people, or even for that matter, scheduled tribe people, or the other lower caste are basically working in these sectors. And we see a disparity over there, not only from the perspective of a person from a lower caste working in the IT sector, but also with respect to the wage difference. Wage differential means that what amount of income that a particular person from a particular caste might be earning when he is working in the IT sector. Now, before we move ahead, see, firstly, you realize that this is a service sector and IT sector plays a very important role because it contributes 7% to. Now, if I come to the caste disparity aspect, please understand. Whenever I am studying caste system, we know that there are 4 varnas, right? This is one side of the story. Let's see the other side of the story. 4 varnas, in which you know that one are the Brahmins, then you have the Kshatriyas, then you have the Vaishyas, and now this is what is a hierarchical structure. And according to the traditional scriptures also, you realize that various duties have been given to people belonging to the various varnas. And one another section that was placed outside the varna system were the people who are known as the scheduled caste. They are also known as, also called Dalit, also called Harijan. I won't use a name, but again, you know that the word untouchable was also used for them, right? So these were placed outside the Varna system. Just to get a relationship why this discrimination and all is happening, then only we can relate to the topic of what the editorial is talking about. So we're doing a brief understanding of that. Now, please understand that they were placed outside the Varna system. So what used to happen is, during the Vedic period, there was flexibility with respect to what profession you want to choose, and based on that profession, you had your Varna. But when we went to the later Vedic period, the rigidity basically increased, and in whatever caste you were born, that used to be your caste, and that used to be caste, you could change that caste. Remains now. So what happened is, because certain duties like Brahmins had the duties of, let us say, knowledge dissemination, interpretation of the Vedas, teaching and all. Kshatriyas had the aspect of administration, justice, war. Vaishyas were related with banking, agriculture, trade and commerce. Shudras were associated with the aspect of, you say, handicraft making, craftsmanship. And then the whatever remained was assigned to the scheduled caste, which then was associated with the aspect of menial work. That is why there's a lot of discrimination. Now, please understand, because of this system that had been on for thousands and thousands of, this system for thousands of years, what has happened is certain set of people were in a way just excluded from the society, like these scheduled caste people, and the discrimination that even the lower caste faced. So what basically that led to was, these people could not educate themselves. We are talking about even till the British time also. Great extent, could not educate themselves, could not even go to the main villages, enter the villages, could not drink water from the wells. This is what the discrimination you even read in Indian history. So what happened is that when you see with respect to education that the upper caste got, they were in a very better position, not only because they were higher in the caste hierarchy, but also because the upper caste earlier initially overlapped with the upper class. That means higher in the caste was, let us say, you are better monetarily also, financially also. That is why they got better jobs also, they got better opportunities also, and they were even, like when the Britishers came, they were the ones who were able to enter the administration also earlier on. While the lower caste, because they were excluded from the societies, from the education, being monetarily also very poor, they could not reap the benefit of that. Now, when we got independence, when we realized that India got independence and we started having the policy of reservation for the scheduled caste, even for the scheduled tribe, realized that many people from these communities and the other vulnerable sectors also did make the benefit of it. And slowly, slowly, they started entering the formal sector, even the government services like the civil. And many got made the use of reservation in higher educational institutions also, and they entered, let us say, good private companies also. But even today, if you realize that larger sections of the people from the lower caste are still not able to get those higher jobs, private sector also for that matter, because the problem or the historical problems that they have faced. What does this historical problem mean? Understand. A person, let us say, who is of a higher caste, who has had ancestry of people being financially strong, who have had good education, broad, best universities, who have a better probability of getting better jobs in MNCs also. On the other hand, when we talk about the lower caste who have been monetarily poorer, who have faced a lot of discrimination, opportunities not being there, then what happens is that, then also along with it, not being aware of the government schemes also, what they feel was they were not able to get those skill set also that is requirement of the market, and that is why they are still facing the issues of the wages being less, right, of the fact they might be working in a company. Now, this is again related with thousands of years of discrimination that these people. Now, let us move a little forward, and I'll be telling you what the report has been. Now, this is a government report, right? Now, NSS report basically talks about certain analysis that have been basically found based on the surveys that were carried, right? Now, see, the probability of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe to be engaged in IT sector is only 10% in comparison to the upper caste, which is 27%. Now, yourself, please imagine, why is this, or why is this there? Please understand, again, you realize that the upper caste, again, historically also had a benefit of being upper class also to a great extent. Post independence, we realized that the policies or the systems changed and a lot of variations did come. But what we realized is that the upper caste had been traditionally upper class also. So they have a greater tendency joining those IT firms because of the opportunities that they get or they receive. on the other hand, the scheduled caste, even the scheduled tribe people, they have been facing issues of discrimination, lacking of the skill set, not being aware of the government schemes also. And along with that, because the poverty is so high that they are not able, for them, even getting the food is more important. Do you realize one of the government, again, statistics is that only only 5% of the scheduled caste people earn greater than 10,000 rupees per month. Now, for these people, immediate requirement would be that they should work, they would be working somewhere so that they can at least suffice their life and their family. And that time, getting into the IT sector also becomes very difficult, because you leave education system and you start working on some, let us say, any task which will at least give you some money so that you can basically survive on that. That is why we realize the IT sector is one sector that requires high skill with respect to programming, high skill with respect to knowledge with respect to engineering, science side, and all those things. So that is why it becomes difficult for this section also to rise over there. Next, overall opportunities have increased for both the upper and the lower caste. Now, this report also says that if you see from the timing of the independence, let us assume, that time obviously the IT sector wasn't there. But we realize if you see the opportunities overall, you realize that with time, the opportunities have increased, both for the upper caste also and both for the lower caste also and for the scheduled caste also. So overall opportunity is increasing, but the differential that is existing between the upper caste and the lower caste is very wide. Again, that has to do with the discrimination historical dimension, which we have right now discussed also. So over here, you realize the differential exists, but overall the opportunities have increased. Now, if I move ahead, please understand this. There is a wage differential that is existing. Now, please understand wage differential. Wage differential means that based on caste, there are certain people who are earning more and there are certain people who are earning less. Now, see over here. And this was found to be associated with the caste also. How? Please understand this. This is very important to understand. Do not see it. You need to analyze it. This is very, very important. Please see. When I talk about wage differential, over here, it doesn't mean that a company over there is basically giving a lesser package because a person belongs to a particular caste. No, this is not the case. It is because, let us say, let us assume, there's one person, let us say A. He belongs to, let us say, scheduled caste. There's a person B who belongs to an upper caste, right? Now, what happens is that both of them are working in IT sector. The problem that arises is that when we are reading the report also and interpreting it, we need to analyze from a perspective that when you're talking about IT sector, within the IT sector, there are various branches also. Supposingly, one can be a developer, software developer. Within a software developer, one can be an artificial intelligence developer. Another can be a, let us say, a tester. Another can be in web designing. Other can be in some other form of designing. So when you talk about IT sector, you need to analyze that the sector itself is very wide. Now, what happens over here is, please understand, it is not simply the caste-based discrimination, it is based on the skill set also. So what happens is that when I'm talking about the dimension of this upper caste guy, let us assume earning more, it is because the skill set that was adopted by him were more in comparison to the other person. Because let us say if you want to do a course from one of the top universities, let us say abroad, possibly that will require a lot of money for you to get the skill. One is that scenario. Second is that awareness, because you realize that when you are in the upper caste, probably because you have been, let us say, more exposure with respect to the government programs, government, what is going on in the market, and also that gives you a benefit having a little advantage over the person who has already been in, let us say, some of the rural regions and not being exposed to the demand of the market. The reason behind it is in the scheduled caste also, 74% of the scheduled caste people live in the rural regions. Over here, see, 70%, 70, in fact, 74% live in rural region. So what happens is that the skill set that could have been adopted by them is not according to the industry demand also. Because firstly, 74% in the rural regions. Second, poverty, only 5% of them earning more than 10,000 per month. On the other hand, awareness with respect to the government schemes might be low. Discrimination already they are facing. Poverty is there. They might be facing issues or a lot of loans that have been taken. So what happens is that when they come into the IT industry, they might be included in those jobs which are not very high skill demanding jobs, and those not high skill demanding jobs are basically the ones which will give you lesser amount of remuneration in comparison to the one who might have received more skills because of the exposure and, let us say, monetarily better off than the scheduled caste person, and that is why the wage differential has arisen. Please understand, it is not that the company is going to give you salary because you belong to a particular caste. No, it is because of this economic skill and education system that basically leads to a rise of the wage differential, where a person belonging to one caste group is observed to be receiving higher income than the one that is belonging to the lower caste group. This is what was observed by, again, the government report. Next observation that has been made is the females earn less than men of the same caste. Now, please understand, if two persons, let us say both are Brahmins, one boy and one girl, and they, let us say, are earning less. Now, again, the similar thing happens. See, there's a quite a possibility that, again, if you're working in one particular sector, see, there's an assumption that, let us say, if you are same caste, how many women are basically engaged in the STEM sector? That means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, as leaving the sector apart, if you see, if if one man and one woman of the same caste, what is the probability of them working in both in the STEM sectors? It is going to be less. The women, again, firstly, are, you would be seeing that large number of women are housewives also. Again, we should respect them because they're working 24/7. But with respect to the economy, that is less. Right now, women contribute merely 18% to the 18% to the India's GDP. That means out of being the 50% of the population, only 18% is being contributed. So that is the meaning that women are, let us say, are not working. Or if they're working at a lesser, or let us say, very small type of jobs which can basically balance their families also. A third is very few minuscule minority of women would be working in the higher position, which is basically leading the figure to rise to 18%. That is why when I take, irrespective of the sector, two people from the same caste, one boy and one girl, you'll be realizing that there's a greater probability of the man earning more. Because why? The reason is, in case of women also, what happens in India, which is a patriarchal society, in India, where is a patriarchal society, what happens? India's patriarchal. So what happens is that the sword of marriage is always hanging, that either you have 1 or 2 years, you do it, otherwise you will be married. And once you are married, then your family starts and children and all, it becomes very difficult to study also. This is not in the case of men so much, because the parents are supportive, because they're the ones who are going to take the home forward, or let us say the lineage forward. So they're going to spend money on them also. This is again got to do with the patriarchal system. And that is why one more thing is that women, if you see education wise also, they might have done, let us say in today's time, graduation obviously is done. If you go to higher education also, particularly in the United States or going abroad, very less number of women will be going. Men would be going because, again, the parents are more supportive for the men studying more and getting a higher package, because because India be a patriarchal society. But in case of women, then what is the need for studying so much? You also just have to get married. So we realize that women earn less than the men being of the same caste. And when you talk of the different caste, again, even the differential increases. Okay, so this is what is the report. Now, please understand, when I talk about ILO report, there's something very important over here also. See, when we talk about the ILO report over here, certain things have to be kept in mind, that International Labour Organization in 2022, the higher levels of diversity in the workplace are associated with greater productivity and innovation. This is the important thing. Now, see, the International Labour Organization report of 2022 basically said that when there is higher diversity, please understand higher diversity over here, you very well know, can be caste diversity, can be religious, can be with respect to your gender, can be with respect to ethnicity, etc. When the higher diversity is there, there is what possibility or probability of greater innovation and productivity. Greater innovation and productivity. So, because see, every person comes with his or her own experience. And when you are at the table of discussion and brainstorming, then different people have to have different opinions and they give you various better scenarios so that when you're preparing the case studies for any project that is being implemented in the corporate sector, it basically leads to better decision making and greater productivity. So that is why we say that it is very important that the participation from the various sections of the society should increase, not only in the government sector also, but also in the private sector also. That is what this report talks about. Let's move ahead. Then, nation will always be grateful to Atalji. Definitely today is his birthday, a great visionary prime minister, and that is why it is celebrated as a Good Governance Day on 25th of December. Now, please see, what is Good Governance Day? See, Good Governance Day is celebrated on December 25 every year to commemorate the birth anniversary of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, a former Prime Minister of India. What about Good Governance Day? It was first celebrated in 2014. It underscores the government's commitment to provide transparent and accountable administration and ensuring that the benefits of development reach every citizen. That is what is the aim, right? A Good Governance Day on December 25, 24 holds a special moment because it is the 100th birth anniversary of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Now, little bit of biography of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, born 25th December 1924, place Gwalior, political party, okay, Bharatiya Janata Party, then Prime Minister, 1996 for 13 days, then again 3 times. So this is why it becomes important is, this can be asked sometimes because with respect to political leaders also who have been very famous, visionary also, questions can be asked. So again, elected to Lok Sabha 9 times, Rajya Sabha 2 times. This also becomes important because he was not only Lok Sabha member, but also been Rajya Sabha members twice. And various important roles he has basically uh, taken up. So that is why we realize that a birthday is celebrated as a Good Governance Day in India on 25th of December. Now, as we move ahead, please understand, the question would come, what do you mean by good governance? For that, first of all, you need to understand what governance is. Now, see, when I talk about governance, it means the process of decision making and process by which decisions are implemented or not implemented for that matter. It encompasses both the formal institutions and the informal practices. So, when I talk about governance, right, we talk how basically the process of decision making is being taken in order to implement something, or whether it is not being implemented also comes under a dimension of the governance. Now, when I talk about good governance, it is a follow up or an advanced step from the aspect of governance. So, when I talk about good governance, what does it mean? It ensures that exercise of authority to manage a country's resources and affairs with fairness, transparency, and accountability. What does it mean? That when the governance is being carried out, the governance should be such that it is with all fair means carried out. The mechanisms are basically transparent in nature, and along with it, there is accountability. That means whoever is assigned some duty should be responsible for the acts that have been done by him or her. So that is basically good governance. Now, let us see what the World Bank basically says. So, good governance is defined as a manner in which power is exercised in the management of a country's economic and social resources for the development. Now, this is what the World Bank's definition is. Now, please understand. Please see, when I talk about governance, when a government is basically governing, when exercising its power, it's governing the people. Now, that can be good also, that can be bad also. Let us say if a government is carrying on its policies which include a lot of corrupt practices, what will happen? It is not good governance. It is neither any form of governance also. But on the other hand, if the government is carrying on its practices which are transparent in nature, whoever is doing certain fault is led again, action is taken against him or her, or let us say it is in a very transparent mechanism. So all these things, what happens? It raises a confidence in the minds of the citizens and the people and the stakeholders that are concerned, which leads to the concept of good governance. That means governance is being carried in a very transparent and accountable manner. That is what is a concept of good governance, right? So the Second Administrative Reform Commission also talks about good governance. Now, what are the key characteristics of good governance according to United Nations? First, participatory. Participation means that the all the stakeholders should be a part of it. That means inclusivity with respect to the decision making process and should be benefiting all. When I talk about follow the rule of law, that means again legal framework must be followed and there should be no partiality. A proper principle of impartiality and neutrality should be maintained. Then we talk about the aspect of transparency. Transparency process means open and accessible to the public. For example, if certain tenders are being carried out, now, if a digital platform is there with everybody, when let us say open bidding, proper bidding is there, where electronic softwares are being used, so there is no discrepancy over there, what will that do? It will raise the confidence that there is no malified intention that is taking place. And when the things are transparent, open, that is, it is visible. Whole process from start to end is visible for the people to see what is going on. That is transparency in nature. Then we have the aspect of responsiveness. Responsiveness means institutions and processes serve all the stakeholders effectively. Then consensus oriented mediation with the various people is very important. Anything that you have to decide, you should take the stakeholders into consideration while making a decision. Equity and inclusiveness, ensuring all members have opportunities and feel included. That means when the decision is taking place, one should not feel that we are excluded from the process of decision making. Effectiveness and efficiency, use of resources for maximum result without the waste. Accountability both for the public and private sector. That means you should be answerable for the actions that you have taken. That means if you do any action, if you do any task, you should be responsible and taking the onus that I have done this task, and this, though it might have gone wrong, agreed, but again over there we have to investigate whether it was intentional or unintentional. Then that's a different scenario over there altogether. But when a duty has been given to a person, then over here he should be accountable for also that duty that has been assigned to them. And if the duty is not being done, then he should be accountable for the bad governance practices that has been carried out by a particular officer or any person in charge. These are what the key characteristics. Now, what is the importance of good governance? Please understand, as you've already studied also a brief of that, ensures transparency and accountability. As we have studied, like RTI Act of 2005 basically empowered to make the process more transparent, because you can ask and demand basically some information from public authorities. And then now the public authorities have also to be careful that they should be following a due process of law, right? Now, promotes inclusive development, like Jan Dhan Yojana, basically over 52 crore bank accounts are open. So this is again promoting inclusiveness. So that everybody has a bank account. Reduces corruption. We see direct benefit transfers are basically eliminating and saving over 2.7 lakh crore of leakages. Enhancing economic growth. We realize that India ranks 63rd in the World Bank ease of doing business, reflecting the improvement, like policies like GST, insolvency and bankruptcy code. Improves in the service delivery. You see Digital India initiative. We realize that it has made things very easy. For that matter, just if you imagine UPI also, I think it would be known as a financial revolution in the world. UPI has made transactions so easier that no one in the world could have ever imagined. So UPI is basically a digital financial revolution that was led by India. So again, that also improves the service delivery and the money transfer, or let us say transaction that takes place. Strengthens the democracy and rule of law. We realize that 3.3 million elected representatives of panchayats. We had a grassroots level democracy. through the Panchayati Raj institutions at the rural region in the form of Panchayat and in the urban region in the form of municipalities. That is again increasing the grassroots level of democracy. As we move ahead, realize that what are the challenges that are there? So we realize that in spite of all this, corruption still exists. We realize that India ranked 85th out of the 180 countries in the corruption perception index. So that is again certain problems because there are various loopholes that are there which need to be capped. That is very important. Criminalization of politics. According to the Association of Democratic Reforms 2023, 43% of the elected MPs in the Lok Sabha have declared criminal cases against them. Then, delay in the justice delivery. In 2023, over 51 million cases are pending across Indian courts, including 80,000 in the Supreme Court, which has now risen even further to more than a crore cases overall, if we include all the local and the higher judiciary also. Next, regional disparities. If you realize the regional disparities, you'll be realizing Kerala have a HDI index of 0.758 and the states of Bihar lag at 0.5, 0.57. Now, if you see the aspect of fertility rate also for that matter, the fertility rate in case of Kerala is even close to now much less than 2 and close to 1.5, 1 also. In case of Bihar, it is 5. That is also a dimension which reflects the aspect of awareness with respect to family planning, aspect of poverty, aspect of with respect to regional development. All these things do come into play. Lack of accountability. We have seen obviously cases of Mr. 𝐂𝐇𝐀𝐃𝐄𝐍𝐃 being transferred close to 50 times in his career till now. So we like a frequent transfer of civil servants basically lead to which basically dents the accountability aspect, because for the civil servant to be accountable also, you should have at least stayed there for 2 years minimum, 2 to 3 years. Then only he can adopt to what is being going on to make some changes and to improve that. Frequent transfers because possibly they do not align with certain philosophies or certain ideologies, and then what happens is that civil servants are the easy scapegoats. Digital divide. Please understand that only 35% of the rural households in India have access to internet compared to 70% in the urban area. The problem that arises is when we create various portals, when we create various apps, who are we creating for them? We're creating for the people majorly in the rural regions because they are the ones who have to benefit, because in the urban regions people are relatively more aware. But if they do not have the internet only, just imagine how are they going to access things. That is what is the paradoxical situation that we face. So this was the scenario. Let's move ahead. Bangladesh seeks Hasina's extradition. No comment, says government. Now please understand, we very well know that former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina basically, uh, after the turmoil that took place in Bangladesh, came to India, and he's in India right now. So Bangladesh right now is demanding to extradite Sheikh Hasina and to Bangladesh so that she can be tried for criminal offenses, war crimes, and all. And we very well know if Sheikh Hasina goes there, there's a greater possibility that she'll be hanged. In India, that is why his mum is not saying anything, because we know that the situation in Bangladesh is deteriorating very badly. The radical elements have been like on an open. The Islamic parties, which were very radical in nature, which were earlier banned during the Sheikh Hasina regime, have been basically, the ban has been removed and they're actively participating in the processes of Bangladesh politics. Along with it, we realize that ISI also is playing a very important role in Bangladesh now, because India earlier had threat from Pakistan and China from the north and in the west. Now we have another enemy to be rising in the form of Bangladesh. So one has to be very, very careful about that. And that is why we do not want to either spoil, or we want to balance the relationships without anything happening to Sheikh Hasina, who is right now in India. Please understand, when I talk about extradition, extradition is a formal process by which one country requests and obtains the surrender of an individual from another country to face criminal charges and serve a sentence for crimes committed within a requesting country's jurisdiction. That means any person, let us say from the native place from where a person is, and that one person goes to another country. This country will request this country that you please send this person back because there are certain crimes which this person is being charged, and we need to uh, basically may have a trial against that person and basically sentence this person for the crimes that have been committed. Now, these are the various extradition treaties are basically signed between countries. So, in order to facilitate such forms of criminal situations or person of that is convicted of, let us say, or accused of certain charges move to the other country. So various extradition treaties are signed between various countries. Extradition is this concept. Now, please understand, this extradition is very different from the concept of asylum. See how. Difference between extradition and asylum: the process of returning a convict or accused to a nation he or she escaped is known as extradition, whereas asylum is when a country gives protection to an individual who are being prosecuted by another country. Now, if you realize a certain set of people who are being, let us say, prosecuted in one country and they come to another country and the protection is being given by that country, so that means there is an asylum that is being given to them. So these are the two different concepts that you should be knowing. Now comes with respect to the article that is there. Over 4 months after the Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled to India following massive protest that toppled her 16-year-old regime, Dhaka has officially requested her extradition. Charges against Sheikh Hasina. uh, Dhaka's diplomatic role highlights the multiple serious charges against her, complicating any potential claim for political asylum in India. Accused of murder, allegedly responsible for killings of a grocery store owner in a police firing, enforced disappearance, implicated in 2005 of kidnapping a lawyer, genocide and torture, charged with separate case involving murder, torture, and genocide of the people. Now, such are the charges that have been basically she has been charged. Now, if she goes, there's a possibility that she might be hanged also, and that is what India doesn't want. Now, what about the extradition treaty between India and Bangladesh? The extradition treaty was introduced to address the concerns about India's insurgents, and particularly from the northeastern region hiding in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh militants taking refuge in India. So we very well know that Bangladesh shares a boundary with the northeastern region. Now, what happens? Various insurgent movements of the groups were led by in the northeastern region. Those groups or leaders of them used to sometimes infiltrate and go in the regions of Bangladesh, and where we had no jurisdiction, and sometimes they used to be caught by the Bangladesh forces. Now, India basically signed an agreement that is took the form of extradition treaty, so that all those criminals, or let us say insurgent movement, who are a threat to the India's security, when they're caught, they could basically be transferred to India, so that India can basically have a proper proceeding against those people. That is why the treaty was signed. Now, timeline: the treaty was signed in 2013 and the amendment in 2016 to streamline the process of exchanging the fugitives between the countries. Now, key provision: extraditable individual. Those charged and found guilty of wanted for committing an extradite offense in the requesting country. Now, the word is defined as extraditable individual. Individual that has been charged of committing an offense that has been over here described right below is defined as an extraditable individual. Definition of extraditable offense: crimes carrying a minimum punishment of 1 year imprisonment, including a financial crime, can be basically, if you are charged under an extraditable offense, then you can be basically categorized under this category. So, in that case, you can be basically requesting the other country. That means Bangladesh can request India, India can request Bangladesh, basically extradite this particular person. Dual criminality: the offense must be punishable in both India and Bangladesh to qualify for extradition. Again, a clause. Scope for extradition covers attempt to commit, aiding, abetting, inciting participation as an accomplice in extradition offense. 2016 treaty amendment removed the requirement of evidence against the alleged crime in an extradition offense. Only an arrest warrant from a competent authority was enough for the request of extradition to be made to the other country. This is what is the provisions. When we move ahead, there are certain exceptions also there. Ground for refusal: extradition can be denied if the offense is political in nature. Certain political offenses there. In that case, if we can, another country can deny it. Non-political offenses: certain crimes are explicitly excluded from being classified as political. Murder, manslaughter, assault, explosion or possession of explosive weapons that engender the life, use of firearms to resist arrest, property damage with intent to endanger life, kidnapping, hostages, taking, incitement, murder, and terrorism. Additional exceptions: if the accusation was not made in good faith or interest of justice, in that case also there can be an exception made to this rules. So this is what was the extradition treaty. Let's move ahead. Main question of the day: What do you understand by good governance? What are the challenges to this concept? 15 marker, very important from the perspective of general studies paper 2. And it can be also asked in GS, can also be asked in GS4 also. Next prelims topics. Jallikattu, we very well know Tamil Nadu government to elaborate standards operating procedure for Jallikattu. Please remember, Jallikattu has been something, an important aspect of the cultural history of Tamil Nadu. So it is celebrated mostly in Tamil Nadu and even in Sri Lanka as a part of the Pongal celebration in Mattu Pongal Day in January. Bull breed is Pulikalam or Kangayam breed is basically used. Traditional practice, it is an old age practice wherein a bull is released in the crowd of people and participants of the event try to grab the large hump of the bull back, attempting to bring the bull to a halt or a stop. Historical reference, Jallikattu is known to have been practiced during the Tamil classical period of 400 to 100 BC. It's not a new practice, it is an integral part of the culture of Tamil. Among the Ayar tribe who lived in the Mulai geographical region of the ancient Tamil Nadu. Now, the seal from the Indus Valley civilization depicting the practice is preserved in the National Museum. That means a seal has been found even in the Indus Valley civilization. So that basically depicts a cultural connect between the Indus Valley civilization and other parts of the country. The cave depicting a white goblin discovered near the Madurai depicting a lone man trying to control the bull is 1500 years old. So this is again a depiction of a man and controlling the bull. This is a representation of the Jallikattu as a means of celebration. We realized that earlier on, it was banned basically by the Supreme Court on the premise that it is against the, it is going basically depicting animal cruelty. Then you realize that Tamil Nadu people came into protest also, that they realized that this is not, we are not harming the bull in any way. It is integral part of the culture, and that is why the ban was again reversed by the Supreme Court also later on. So they can carry on with their practice. Next is lion-tailed macaque. Important for prelims, you can have a face, very cute face, little bit ferocious, but cute face. Coming back, habitat of the lion-tailed macaque in the wild, they are only native to India. That is again important. The wild only native to India. Native to the fragmented rainforest of Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu in the Western Ghats. Prefer the upper canopy of the primary tropical evergreen forest. That is why this question has been asked earlier also and can be asked again. Statuses, IUCN status is endangered, site status is Appendix 1, Wildlife Protection Act status is Schedule 1. Behavior is they use some 17 different vocals to communicate with each other and communicate a lot through the facial expressions and posture. You can see this cute face also, though it is not appearing cute, very cute right now, because this is at a stage where the macaque is basically trying to warn the other macaques that this is my territory. That is why the grunting sound that is basically rising, that is the particular phase that is being depicted in this particular picture. So this is one of the various 17 sounds that, along with the facial expressions that is generated by the macaque. Very territorial, that means they have their specific areas in which they basically say that this is my demarcation, the others are not going to come in this area. Primarily diurnal and arboreal. Arboreal, over here, please remember, this is their nature because they are in the upper canopy regions of what? The rainforest. Protected areas, Kudremukh National Park, Karnataka, Periyar National Park, and the Silent Valley National Park of Kerala. So this is the region, this is what you should be knowing even for the prelims examination. Next, we have the remittances. India got 14.3% of the remittances, which is equivalent to $129.1 billion last year, complete year. Now, please understand, why this becomes important is that India's remittances have grown rapidly, much more than even China. This is, see, one over here, if you see, 129.1 billion. So just imagine that the amount of remittances that have gone is India is the maximum major chunk. Then comes your Mexico, then comes your China, and then comes your Philippines, then France, then Pakistan, then Bangladesh, then Egypt, then Guatemala, and then Germany. So you should be at least knowing few countries. First being India, second Mexico, third China, fourth Philippines. At least this you should be knowing, because again remittances are a very important role with respect to even sustaining the families, with respect to the forex exchange, also with respect to the development of a region because of the remittances they get from their family members who are abroad. Now, please understand what a remittance is. Remittances refers to the money that individuals working abroad send back to support their families in their home country. So let us say if someone's son is working in, let us say, United States, and every month he sends, let us say, 1 lakh rupees to his parents. So that is a remittance that is coming. So that means over here it is sustaining the family, also helping the family, also helping the India's economy, also for that matter. The money coming to the family in the country, that will lead to their spending, also that will basically aid in the economy also moving. So a lot of benefits are there basically over here. Now, if you see over here, the important thing is that the remittances in India over here, a turmoil has been there, but if you realize overall it has risen. In case of China, it has decreased. In other countries, it is almost stagnant. In case of Mexico, also little rise is there, but India it has risen a very good rate. Now, please understand there are certain things that you need to analyze over here. What when you get the remittances, there are basically two major areas which you talk about. One are the high skilled zones. Now, over here, this includes because of those, let us say, regions like United USA, even UK, even Japan, Australia. These are the regions where people had gone, let us say, by doing their engineering or going there, doing masters, even doctors, all and professionals working over there. When you talk about the low skill areas, it doesn't mean that you don't have the skill. It basically means the high technical skills I'm talking about. You'll be realizing in case labor in the form of Oman, Saudi Arabia, etc. Middle Eastern. Broadly, we can refer to them as Middle Eastern. Over here, people from the regions of Punjab, Haryana, UP, even southern India have gone there in the form of labors also. So remittances come. Major is large contribution is from here, and a significant contribution is also here, but large from the high skill because they can send that larger quantum of money, right? That is basically observed over here. Now, why it has increased is that also becomes important over here because see, first reasons. First thing is that please understand, large number of people are now migrating to these countries. Large number. If you take my example, if I had 10 very close friends from my school days, 8 of them are abroad, out of which 7 in United States, 1 in United Kingdom. So you realize that people are going abroad and settling there also. So what happens? Larger number of people, larger number of Indians moving abroad. Now, this is again a very, very important dimension. Why? Because larger number going, there's a possibility of greater remittances coming, right? Now, second thing is that the transactions have become very easy. The digital payments, all those things have become very easy. Earlier, because it was mainly a cash-driven economy across the world, now digital transaction makes it very, very easy. Next thing over here is, please understand, over here, participation with respect to women have also increased. Women participation in the economy has also increased. That is also basically contributing. Girls are also moving abroad. They're also contributing the economy and the remittances. That is again a very important aspect. So these are few of the points that are basically leading to further remittances also. And overall, you should have an idea from the prelims perspective that India, its remittances are rising overall now, though there has been ups and downs, but overall rise, right? Okay, let's move ahead. Multiple choice questions. Let's have a look at the questions over here. Question number 1 with the options, then the answer. Question 2 with the options, the answer. Question 3, options, the answer. Question 4 with options and the answer. Question 5 with options and the answer. So this was the analysis of the Hindu from today's newspaper. Hope you liked it and enjoyed it. Hope you learned a lot of things. These are very important topics today's newspaper. So you should be aware of these and take care. We'll meet tomorrow and continue with the session. Take care and Jai Hind.